Okay, so I'm over here at my gardens and I've been wanting to do a little video mostly because I love my gardens so much. I'm so proud of them, but also I wanted to show you guys how to, or not how to, but show you my volunteer plants and how they're doing. This is my gardens back here. We used to have a chicken coop there, but here is my first bed. It's got kale and Swiss chard in it, and it has, used to have snow peas and lettuce in it, but I yanked those out. But I'll just pan over so you can kind of see how the garden's laid out, and then I'll go up closer to it. But yeah, we did the hog panels. Those are so awesome. We've got cucumbers growing on this side. Yep, there's a cat. And then we have herbs in here. And we've got purple basil, bolted cilantro. Bolted cilantro, and then regular basil. And there is beets in there. More cucumbers. I got all different varieties. I got big cucumbers and pickling cucumbers. There's some more cucumbers, and then this bed has a whole bunch of Swiss chard in it, and more cucumbers. And then this side of it has our Birdhouse Gourds, which we love. They're so fun to grow. My friend actually made us some birdhouses out of them, and they're so awesome. So they grow really fast, and their vines get so long. So they go all the way down. They'll go into the other bed. This is my my asparagus bed, but only half of it. And then this half I have my Birdhouse Gourds, and I have a bunch of carrots growing. And then I have some dill that grew back from last year. So there's that. And then this over here, you see, this is my garden that I just put in last year. And these sunflowers are volunteers from last year, and those sunflowers are volunteers from last year. They're huge and they're beautiful. Here I have like these pumpkin squash things my sister found growing in a field and gave to me, and they're growing cool. And then I have like 8 rows of beans or so, but in my rows of beans I have tomatoes everywhere. It's tomato forest. Every tomato plant in this area are all volunteers, so they all grew back from last year. I do a no-till gardening, so my soil is kept really undisturbed, and I think that makes it a little bit easier for things to grow back. But as you see, it's like a dense forest, and that has created problems. You see how it's sort of flattened out here, and I have beans here. It's smothered some of my beans in the centers. And then underneath, like the heap there, it's like a little moldy and it's wet. You know, I should have come and thinned it out. I'll do a little closer picture, but I have here, these are Brad's Atomic Grape tomatoes. They grew back from last year. These are so good. I didn't plant any this year, so I was so happy to see that they grew back. I was hoping they would, since this is the general area that they were in, so I was really careful not to pull anything out. But if you look, maybe right here, I'll show you. So see how there's literally just so many stalks growing. There's just so many different plants all next to each other. So yeah, it created a musty, no breathing room for things. So if I like come through and I lift these, you see there was some bean plants under there. You can kind of see there's mold there, and it's wet. It's really only like that in this little portion of the garden. So I mean, I wouldn't say that's a failure. It's a learning thing. I knew I had to thin it out, but I just couldn't bring myself to tear out perfectly good tomato plants. And then here's a volunteer corn from last year. Just one, very nice. And there's those sunflowers. Those things are probably, that tallest one there is probably 14 feet tall. And then these are tomatoes that I actually did plant. I planted some here. There's more volunteer sunflowers, and there's another volunteer sunflower. We've got radishes. These flowers grew back from last year. Flower friends, I do not know what kind these are. Yep, so there's those things. But and then I have cabbages and broccolis, and then in this weed forest also I have a bunch of cucumbers that are newly planted, so they're pretty small. And then this is awesome. It is another cattle panel trellis thing, and it is like five panels long. It's so cool. But my son really wanted his own garden over here. He didn't want our gardens to touch. He said there had to be grass between our gardens, so we knew that this was his. So this is my middle son's garden, Rogan, and he wanted Birdhouse Gourds. So these are Birdhouse Gourds and a mix of a bunch of other sort of squash vining plants. So that should be really pretty. I'm just like trying to do this video, and this cat is literally just attacking me. But then he's got here some different zucchinis. He's got watermelons back there and some beets. And then he has his herb row. He's got rows of beans. And then, so we have bees there. And he wanted to plant a flower garden for the bees. So he picked different varieties of flowers. Some of them I don't know what they are. I'm not sure. These guys, I'm not sure. These look like there's some sort of a zinnia maybe. Don't know what this one is. No idea what this is. This one here I think is the big orange marigolds. So I got that one down. This one here, zinnias, right? And then he did a bunch of different varieties of sunflowers. One I'm really excited for is he planted the teddy bear sunflowers. And none of them have bloomed yet. So there is all his garden. And there is these gardens. I like to call them like, I don't know, the new gardens. And then, you guys, seriously, I'm just trying to get away, and this cat's chasing me. But, yeah, so, I don't know how to get the light, but there's those gardens. Now, this here is my other garden. This is like my original garden. Used to be a lot smaller, but we've got this one covered in hog panels because the dogs like to rip through this one for some reason. But I am still in the process of spreading mulch through, just slowly and weeding. But this here, these are cosmos that I got for free last year from Baker Creek, and they are all growing back from last year, which I was really impressed with that. So these are just growing back. I don't know if these are annuals or if they're perennials. Maybe they're volunteers. I don't know. And then in here I have all these tomatoes. These are all volunteers from last year. They just grow back. They're like the bumblebee tomato from Baker Creek. They're really good. There's tons of them. I've got some thyme down here. That is just a perennial. So and then we have all these peppers, and there's cucumbers here again. And this is Kai's section of the garden. He did one giant sunflower, and then he's got, I'm thinking these are like the green zinnia, green zinnias down here. And then he's got his beans and his watermelons and tomatoes and stuff. And then this section here is all tomatoes from last year, which is awesome because there are varieties in here that I just love, and they grew back. So there's one actually that's like the pineapple, the striped pineapple or something like that, and it is so good. And I just found out tonight that that it grew back from last year. I found one. So there's that, and we have more peppers through here. These are tomatoes that grew back from last year. And then this is all my dill. So sad. I mean, it's really at the end of its life here. But this one actually still has, wait. No, it doesn't. Yeah. It still has little flowers on it. But this is all from last year too. The dill is. And then there's some cilantro that came back from last year that I left. And then this section is my youngest son's section. He's got his beans, he's got his little watermelons, planted these sunflowers. That sunflower came back from last year. And then on the sides, he actually planted, I think they're pronounced nastrums, something like that, those flowers. He's got some of those growing on the sides. This is actually where my newly planted raspberries are. And then this here is my wild garden, obviously. This is where my my walking onions grow every year. So I have a really hard time weeding throughout here because I literally have like 1,000 walking onions that just grow back every year, walk their way around my garden, replant themselves. You can see them. I've pulled a bunch. You know, I've picked some, but these little pink heads here, it's pretty cool because you let them go, they fall down, and then they walk themselves through your garden. This tips over. Do you see how it has, whoops, let me try and, you see how it's all sprouting all over? This tips over upside down into the soil and replants itself. But this is actually a whole bunch of bulbs, little tiny tomato bulbs. See that? You can cook these and eat these. They're good. They're just like little tiny onions, but I just let them go every year. Yep, and then my wild calendula right there. This I have picked a few times and have been drying for making some tinctures and salves. And then this section here I did weed, and I planted some different sorts of zucchinis and squashes. I see I got a yellow squash starting on that one. I did these ones a little late to try and avoid the squash bugs, you know, the arch nemesis of every gardener in the world, I think. Oh, there's some garlic. I did plant garlic here, and I picked some and left it there. So that's what I do. And then back here, I have my rhubarb. This is going on year 3 of it, and it is looking so good and so thick. And then I also have back here in my water trough, I have horseradish. So I planted this horseradish a few years ago, and every year I come out and I pull a bunch out and I make fire cider with it. But I see, even though I have it in a water trough, it has escaped and it's on the ground now there, which, you know what, it's fine with me. You can't have enough horseradish, I think. But, oh, there's some strawberries in here too. But there you are. That is my garden tour. And, oh, look at this one found me too. See this guy? And this guy chasing me everywhere. So there it is, the tour of the gardens. I absolutely love spending time out here. So do my kids, I think.